So TikTok's so new that you don't really want to rely too much on just TikTok sales. So what my careers are doing is we're driving traffic to Amazon. And on top of that, we're also using attribution links, which on Amazon, you get brand referral bonus links, which is basically just an outside link or a referral link, basically, that you could plug. And they'll give you like an extra 5 to 10% back on the sales generated through that link because you're driving traffic back to Amazon, which basically means that customers, and the stats are there, customers will go to your link. Amazon just loves outside traffic. So if you promote it on other apps, basically reward you with a bonus. But the thing is, they reward you with a bonus because if you get someone to go on Instagram and then go to Amazon, they're going to buy more than just your product.
E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation.
What is up, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Ecom Unlimited podcast. It is your boy Kaj here with my co-host Josh.
What's going on, everybody?
And today we have on Mike Tona. How you doing, man?
Yo, what's up, guys? Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time. So before we jump into your intro, I know you have been focusing a lot on your private label brand, on doing some TikTok shop stuff as well, but that's not exactly how you got into the space. So tell me about your background and how you found out about e-commerce, selling on Amazon, and your journey.
Yeah, of course. So I probably have a really, really long story with ecom in general, but I'll try to keep it, within a minute or two. But I mean, I've been doing e-commerce since college. I'm 29 now. I've probably been doing it since college. Honestly, in my early days, just selling anything, like whatever can make me a buck, I was doing it. It got me into Supreme reselling and shoe reselling in college. I had a close buddy who I'm actually meeting up with tomorrow. I haven't seen him in 3 years, who got me on this whole Supreme shoe phase. And that's what kind of kickstarted the whole e-commerce journey, because I started selling shoes, going on the sneakers app, doing all that stuff, getting all these rare shoes from these releases, whatnot, traveling to New York to do it. I'm from Jersey, obviously, so it wasn't too big of a deal. But it led into sneaker botting, which a lot of people don't really know how it works. Sneaker botting is just basically using advanced software that you could pay for that basically runs hundreds of thousands of tasks, which emulates basically one user trying to go for a pair of shoes online, such as like Foot Locker or a Yeezy Supplies website. So I was using software that I paid for and basically running hundreds of thousands of tasks with basically all these IP addresses that we're paying for. And basically I would get, 1, 2, 3, 400 pairs of Yeezys on these really rare releases. Some days go very well, some days go really bad. Sometimes you could spend a few $1,000s for a setup and then make $0. But then there's days where you can hit 500 pairs, which has happened. And my parents were not too happy because I had 500 Yeezy slides arrive to the door, and those were making me like, $25 a pair. So that was probably the best release I've ever done. But that led me into Amazon, because I started looking into, as that market kind of died out and it was getting very saturated, I was like, what's the next best side hustle I could do when I'm in school? I was in nursing school also, by the way, during this entire time. And someone put me on Miles and was like, hey, you should follow this guy. And Miles' stuff just kept coming up. And I'm like, you know what, let me learn this stuff. I ended up, getting mentoring from Miles, learned arbitrage, learned some retail arbitrage from some other buddies that taught me that. And then that's what pretty much kickstarted the whole Amazon journey. And then it led into wholesale. Now it's leading into private label. And I'm kind of doing as much as possible, which is a lot. But I have tapered back on the arbitrage and wholesale stuff recently.
Yeah, so
that's really cool.
So arbitrage, online arbitrage specifically, that, because I believe we were kind of starting that journey around the same time. That was like 2021, 2022. And then
3 years. Yeah. Wow. Time flies.
And it's crazy, man. And then so from there, wholesale, which is kind of like that natural progression. At what point did you decide that you wanted to launch private label? Because that's kind of what I want to spend the majority of this conversation talking about.
Yeah. And I feel like this might be a little bit of a touchy subject for maybe some of the listeners that do arbitrage or wholesale, but I started pivoting once I saw all these brands restricting and kind of gating people randomly, whether it was Amazon themselves or the brands themselves, like pressuring Amazon. And I started seeing it more frequently. It happened with some beauty brands that I was selling a lot of. And The first thing that really bothered me was I think I had like $50,000 of Clinique products from an authorized
Oh,
distributor,
oh
and
yeah, Clinique got.
Yeah,
Oh,
Clinique got clipped, which was like last year sometime. And this also kind of happened with some of the arbitrage brands too, but not of that like level. Because I was, casting a wide net. I had hundreds of ASINs at one point of all different brands. Lego, Nike, Under Armour, Puma, all these random arbitrageable brands, random stuff that some people don't even know about. That went perfectly fine, but then little by little, I started seeing some like kind of getting gated, or the whole process of just having to deal with the Amazon support and submitting invoices was just brutal, which led me to more like brand direct wholesale, not so much just wholesale in general, but it was more so authorized brand direct, which was a lot of cold calling, which I was pretty good at. I was like ruthless. I was using Smart Scout, calling every single brand that basically popped up based on my filters, and ended up getting really lucky. I landed two brand direct authorizations. They did have multiple authorized sellers, but that was enough to really get me to cruise and make some money like consistently. And it was kind of like on autopilot because you're really just putting in a PO. That PO can last you like 3 months of sales, and you can just kind of either keep cold calling or just take a seat back, and just like kind of do some other stuff. So I was still doing arbitrage during that point, but as these brands kind of started restricting and regating, I was like, you know what? Let me save some of this money. Let me not leverage like some of these credit cards as hard as I really was. And that's basically what started happening. It was like right when the Clinique got hit, I tapered back on all the arbitrage stuff, and I was like, you know what? Let me sell this as on many networks as possible, and start learning private label. And that's what pretty much kind of got me into the PL space.
got it. Okay, yeah, and I'm totally down for that journey too, because we've been saying the similar things as well. And I mean, we are recording this, what's today, the 21st, like a
Yeah.
couple days after the massive regate just went out, and people are freaking out for good reasons. I mean, I know
Yeah.
folks who have multiple six figures of inventory that is now gated, which is just terrible. But I mean,
Yeah.
we intentionally
Yeah. I
scaled
saw a
back
guy
this
with like
year.
a 250,000 too.
Dude, it's terrible. I couldn't imagine.
That's crazy.
We have one.
Was it
ASIN that we
mainly
got
just
regated on.
arbitrage brands?
It was mostly big arbitrage brands: Nike, Adidas, Pumas, Milwaukee, Oral-B,
Damn.
Mattel, Disney, Lego. And it's not the same across the board, right? Like for some sellers, they're still
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I could still
But I
sell
mean,
Lego, but I think it's because I've
right?
been doing it so long.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I was saying, we intentionally scaled back a little bit this year to focus on that brand direct wholesale. And like, those are all of the brands for us that are fine. The smaller brands where we are exclusive or semi-exclusive, you don't have, they're not the size of Nike, and it's not really that much of an
Yeah.
issue. So you started, that's why you started getting into private label. What are the steps for you? Like, how did you find your product? I know you've kind of been building in public a little bit, been
Yeah.
watching that, which has been cool to see. Like, just tell me your philosophy on that. Who'd you learn from? What are your
Yeah.
methods?
So I'll do some shameless plugs on like who I learned from. So I actually ran into Steve Roll on Twitter.
Shout out
He
Steve.
like
Yep.
shout out Steve. He's the freaking man. I love Steve so
Yep.
much. We hop on calls
We
like every other week, just to chat. I've met him a
Nice.
couple times in Vegas. He's out in Nevada, and someone convinced him to
we
hop
had
on
him.
Twitter.
He was on our
Yeah.
he was on our podcast episode 28. So
Nice.
if you guys are interested in private label, go back to that episode.
Yeah. Steve's the man. He has like 10 plus brands. He's actually in the process of working with an influencer on a new brand, doing like a partnership style, which I really, really love that idea. If you can really convince someone with a really high status and a lot of followers to just do the content side of things, and we work on the business and the building side of things, that's a crazy good business model. There's a lot of risk with PL, but it's awesome seeing what he does. But someone convinced him to hop on Twitter, and I saw his tweets, and I'm like, this guy, his tweets are like well put, worded nice, like has his whole background. Let me shoot him a DM. I started chit chatting with him, and we hopped on a couple calls. And the first call we hopped on, he's like, yeah, it'll be like 15-minute call. I just want to like chat. It ended up being like 2 hours long, and we just like
awesome.
kind of just like that that's what basically just started the relationship from there. We ended up hopping on calls like maybe once a month, talking PL stuff. He was, basically guiding me through like the basics of like if you want to do something like a hard good, like what people are doing nowadays is like mouth tape or maybe like a wooden picture frame or something like that. You would probably go source it from like Pietra or Alibaba, find a manufacturer in China, get it cheap, request samples from a few different people, see what you could do, how to make it different from other people, go look at reviews of other brands online, kind of showing me the steps, like using certain tools like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout to like see what the competitors are doing, but maybe find a competitor that has 3.5 to 4 stars, but still sells a lot and try to improvise on their product. Or if you have an idea of something revolutionary that no one else is doing, which is kind of hard to come up with, you could do that. But he was the first person that taught me PL. I started diving into more stuff, and I got connected with some people in Miami who led me to Rob Oliver, who everybody knows Rob Oliver. He's like one of the biggest PL guys in the space, sold his brand for like 30.5 million, something crazy. Has like
absolute monster.
10 plus brands that people don't know about. He invests in his students that like really take it serious. And what he says to me is like, I don't invest in brands, I invest in my actual students. Like I see he sees the vision in certain people, and he knows like, okay, that's a brand owner I want to invest in. Like the product's good, but I want people that are also really good behind the product, that are actually like managing it well. And then basically he kind of has a deal where he invests in it. He has outside networks with affiliate networks as well, and he kind of bootstraps it together and really, he has a really good funnel, a really good system, and he's not your like typical guru who's just posting ads and trying to like sell a course. He really says what he does, and he's continuously doing it, and he's building new brands as we go through that process. And so I was in his
Jonah put me on
basically.
his content. Jonah put me on his content a few weeks ago,
he's,
and I've been
he's funny.
He's a character, man, but he's legit. He's super smart.
It's funny. I've met him a couple times in person, and I really like his persona online is like not even exactly what he is in person. Like he's super down to earth, super chill dude. Maybe it's just for the gram, but like maybe that's just how he is. But his content's next level. His editing team, his YouTube team, he has so many moving parts, but he really knows how to build a community. And it's just been nothing but great, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. When did you so you started obviously a private label product.
Mm-hmm.
Were you looking at like what kind of price point were you looking at? Like category, like what drew you to your first kind of PL product?
Yeah, so the way Rob kind of preaches it is like you don't want to like force it too hard. You kind of want to let a product kind of come to you sometimes, which sometimes you just base it off trends. Sometimes you could base it off maybe something you really just believe in. You don't want to just like force something because, I don't know, you just think it's going to work. Like if you just think a brand looks cool and you think, oh, like people will buy it and the data doesn't validate it, like people aren't searching for it, it's not going to be too successful. So he's like, find something that you can actually back yourself that also has data, which is like what Helium 10 and Jungle Scout and Smart Scout, all these tools do is they basically check search volume. And I took that from like him. It took me about a month to find like a niche. And I found that gummies were trending upwards and supplement gummies are just great. I always wanted to do a supplement because one, it's domestic. Your lead times are shorter. You could do everything from the US. You don't have to source stuff from China. The only thing that really would come from China is the ingredients, but I'm not at that level where I actually need to manufacture and get each ingredient pulled from China. I could just use a domestic manufacturer that has all of them in-house. The only downside of that is it might cost more than a hard good. Like mouth tape is probably like $1 a unit. If you customize it a bit, it's probably $1.50, $2. But everyone was doing mouth tape, so I was like, I don't really care about that. Supplements are a little more expensive. It could be like $5 to $7 depending on how good your formula is, if you're using trademarked ingredients and stuff like that. So given my background in health and exercise, I went to school for that. And then I went to nursing school, which I ended up pivoting out of that. I didn't want to do it anymore. I dropped out halfway through. It was just high stress environments. Just didn't want to do 12-hour shifts. My back was always hurting. Being the guy in the nursing facilities, like everybody's like relying on you to do the heavy lifting. And I was just too stressful. So it kind of led me down to that path where I was like, you know what, why don't I try a stress supplement? Because I see the search volume rising and rising and rising. So I kind of went that route, and I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can pivot it, make it different than the competition, which is what led me to the whole like pink color. Like I didn't see too much pink. I didn't see too many people putting it in a jar. It looked more like pharmaceutical like. So that's what I ended up doing, and kind of the whole branding behind it was like for nurses basically, and for people in the health and medical field. Essentially, is like high stress environment. Branded towards women. The stats don't lie. It's like 70% of the people buying on Amazon are usually the wife of the household or the mom. It just, it makes it easier if you appeal it towards females, because one, it'll just sell better. And I don't even mean to like sound like I'm trying to like take advantage of like women in like the idea of selling products. It just stats don't lie. Like if they're purchasing, why don't I brand it towards them and start with that, and then maybe make a male supplement as my like second SKU. So that's what basically led me down that path of doing a whole stress and kind of focus supplement.
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. And I also like, obviously I think you led a lot of your individuals or a lot of the people who view a lot of your content like through the journey of making that private label product. And I think that's really cool because you don't get to see that a lot because everyone's like trying to hide their private label product. Have you noticed anybody like trying to like copy you or anything like that with it?
So, I mean, my product wasn't really revolutionary, so I didn't really mind building it in public. But yes, I have seen, I mean, some people have probably seen people that are literally emulating a similar product as mine, in the same space. But that's the downsides of building in public. Like people might see the same type of product. They might go check the search volume and say, hey, I want to do the same thing. But at the end of the day, a lot of that comes down to who can do it better in terms of, marketing wise, who can hire better creators, who has better connections to creators, who can spend more on PPC, who has just a bigger budget, they say this in the PL space, like who could be a loss leader. Like I will gladly pay $1 more in PPC than my competitors that might be also launching at the same time, just to outbid them and get that, that first little landing page for a sponsored product on Amazon. But then again, like some people have strategies launching on TikTok, and that's also really good. I see it I see it a lot where people want to launch TikTok, have Amazon ready to like turn on, and once something goes viral, they kind of do both, which is a great strategy. But yes, I have seen people, doing similar products as well. But I'm in the gummy space with like magnesium and L-theanine. There's so many supplements that do the same thing, but not every brand is using TikTok creators or social media marketing. Nobody has connections in my personal opinion, I sound like, like I have an ego when I say this, but no one has connections like I do. Like I work in all these communities. I have access to creators. I'm helping awesome. Rob coach in his community now, which is just a blessing to have, which is nice. But you talk to a lot of people, you go to a lot of trade shows, and you can kind of find out a lot more than other people. And I think it really does, at the end of the day. And I love thinking of this because I can never thank Miles more than what he made me do in the past. Was he kept pressing me to make a social media for FBA, and I was like, I don't want to show my face, I want to do this. And then it led me down this whole path of just like meeting all these people. So it's like, if you're listening to this, like put your face out there, even just like make a Twitter, just engage with the community. It's the best thing you could do.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now, like, kind of talk to us, like, I would love to know your split between Amazon, TikTok, and I'm assuming you have a website too. Like, what does your sale distribution look like in like those? We'll just take those three platforms right now.
Yeah, and I'm also on Walmart, by the way. But
okay, Walmart.
Those are the 4 best that you could probably launch on for now. I think right now my strategy is using TikTok creators like Rob preaches. Like we're in this era of social media where it's like you have such a high, like I forgot what the exact stats were, but like the user that goes on TikTok is on like for at least 30 minutes a day, which is insane. So the highest retention rate, market it on TikTok. You can market it on Shop, but you need affiliates with 5,000 followers or more to tag the product and earn commissions, which it used to be like 1,000, but it's slowly changing. I think that
just changed though, because I sent out a round of invitations like this week, and there are plenty of people that we found that have way less than 5,000 that are approved.
They might be on older accounts that have been generated.
Some of them I know are new. like
And that's
within
for
the last couple
tagging the
weeks.
product, like via TikTok
Yeah.
Shop, or is that the affiliate link?
Like
That's
tagging
tagging?
it to the shop. Yeah, tagging
Interesting.
to the shop
Maybe
page.
they
Yeah.
lowered it. That's even
Yeah.
better. I mean, that's amazing. Honestly, I thought it was five. I could have sworn this week I checked it was 5,000.
It
But
was.
maybe
They did it. The official policy hasn't changed. I don't know why they're like
so weird.
letting certain people, or maybe I just don't fully understand it and I'm jumping the gun. But
Well, that's even
that's
better
what I've
for
seen.
like the
Yeah.
communities that I'm in because, at the end of the day, it's like 5,000. I wouldn't say 5,000 is too hard. Like there's ad methods by running ads to videos to get to 5K. There's buying accounts, which I personally don't recommend. But to go back on your question, Josh, I kind of went off topic. But if my strategy right now, like Amazon holds all the equity, like Amazon holds all of the power with a brand. And like if your main focus is to build a brand for a few years, potentially sell it, which is kind of like what everybody wants to do with PL is like build it for a few years, get it off the ground. If it becomes something massive, then yeah, sure, I would keep running it. I'd try to get it in retail. But if it's just an Amazon brand and I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to go to retail, you want to sell it. So TikTok's so new that you don't really want to rely too much on just TikTok sales. So what my creators are doing is we're driving traffic to Amazon. And on top of that, we're also using attribution links, which on Amazon you get brand referral bonus links, which is basically just an outside link or a referral link basically that you could plug. And they'll give you like an extra 5 to 10% back on the sales generated through that link because you're driving traffic back to Amazon, which basically means that customers, and the stats are there, customers will go to your link. Amazon just loves outside traffic. So if you promote it on other apps, they basically reward you with a bonus. But the thing is, they reward you with a bonus because if you get someone to go on Instagram and then go to Amazon, they're going to buy more than just your product. They might have stuff sitting in the cart. They might have other promos. They might see other things on the landing page or just random stuff like that. There might be a sale going on and they end up buying 2 or 3 things in the cart. Now, not everyone's doing that, but it does happen a lot. And Amazon sees those stats and they say, oh, people who use these referral links, bring users back to our platform. We're rewarding them to use these like basically referral links, essentially affiliate links. And then we make more money. And Amazon makes more money. So that's why they give these links out basically for free. So that's what I've been doing with my creators. Once you reach 1,000 followers, you can put a link in bio, or you can make your videos like non-ad or non-salesy and just say like, oh, like I found these on Amazon. So like that's what we're basically doing with our creators. And everyone can kind of go see, like it did like 600 sales this past month, which is like awesome to see.
I saw
like,
that.
yeah,
That was congrats. That was
yeah,
sick.
thank you. But obviously there are costs to it, so I do like being transparent with people. Like I am paying a good amount in PPC. I'm paying a good amount to maintain that position up there. Whether it's $10 a day or $20 a day on a few campaigns, that's fine. But yeah, if I sell 600 units, I make 10 profit. That's $6,000. But I'm also spending thousands on creators, thousands on PPC. So at the end of the day, I could break even for 3 to 6 months. But after that, you have this massive client base or this customer base that one is on subscribe and save models. 2, you have emails and phone numbers through your Shopify website. And you just have this whole customer base that you could basically re-advertise to, or they're just going to replenish like the inventory, basically.
Yeah.
They're going to buy it over and over and over again. But to answer that first question, because I keep going off topic, I'd probably say because of the way we're marketing it, I'd say like 85% of my sales go to Amazon. My TikTok shop, you guys can go look. There's probably like 40 sales, but that's because I'm not doing shop creators right now. I did I think a 2,000 order, a unit order for my first batch. And I just actually re-upped it to like 3,500 more units today, which is cool to see that like I sold through most of the units and now I'm like doing it again. But we're going to split it this time. So I'm going to do like 2,000 at Amazon, 2,000 on TikTok shop, which just basically is at a warehouse and I'm FBMing it. But to go back, it was probably 85% Amazon, but because of a couple viral videos, I did have like 100 sales on Walmart and like 50 sales on my website. So the other 5 to 10% did go there. And we didn't even talk about the website or talk about Walmart.
Yep.
People just
look it up.
People just look it up on Google. And if your SEO is good or your brand name is unique enough, it pops up, which is nice.
That's super awesome.
Awesome. And so So right now, again, your strategy is not actually driving sales through TikTok Shop. So you're just paying, I'm assuming, a retainer to creators to either repost or post about it. And then
Yep.
with the attribution link, that promo or whatever that Amazon is giving you, that's going back to you. That's not actually going to the creator. So
Correct.
the creator is only getting paid from the retainer. They're not actually
Correct.
getting like an affiliate off the sale.
They also get bonuses based on view counts on their videos.
Sure.
So
But
that's the
still
best
paid
way.
by you.
That's paid out of pocket for me. So I had a creator
Right.
actually. Basically, what we've been doing is like $500 per million views, and I had a creator hit like 3 million views on a video, so he got $1,500. So like those are the costs that are associated with building these brands. Because yeah, in all hindsight, I had like 1,000 sales first 2 months, which sounds like 10K profit. But I paid retainers for creators.
Right.
I paid PPC for both months. I offered a 1,500 bonus for them because of that performance on that one video. But it gets them to keep making good content. It's like I said, it goes back to what I said before. If you can get, 2,000 customers, 3,000 customers in a couple months, maybe even more, like 10, 20,000 in a couple months, and they come back and buy it again, you can kind of taper back the marketing, or even just use those profits and go harder, and then just make more the following year.
It's as Hermosi says, it's that CAC to LTV ratio, which for the
LTV,
listeners
I love
who,
it.
yep. So cost of customer acquisition cost over lifetime value. So if you have a product that's replenishable, which means someone buys it, it's good quality, they're going to buy it again. It's like you might break even on the first sale, but then if the lifetime value of that customer, let's say they're going to buy the product, how much? What's your selling price? $30, $40?
$29.9, yeah, $30, yeah.
$30. So let's say they buy that product once a month and they are with you for 2 years. I'm going to try and do math in my head. This is going to be a disaster. But essentially it's $360 a year. Multiply that by 2, you're just over $700, right? So it costs you 20, 30, $40 in advertising to get that customer, but that's just for the first unit. And then after that, it's just all profit, right?
Yeah.
So that cost of customer acquisition, you're, like you said, being a loss leader, you're going to not profit for the first few months, but then as you build your customer base, then that's where the profit comes in. So question for you on the TikTok side of things. Why is your strategy more so focusing on retainers and driving the traffic to Amazon versus doing the affiliates that are approved for Shop and trying to sell more stuff on Shop?
So that kind of goes back on I just think I value the brand standpoint of an Amazon storefront a little bit heavier. So I want the majority of the sales to go through. Maybe just for my initial launch, I wanted that. I want that customer base. TikTok Shop doesn't have subscribe and save either right now. Not that I know of. I think they give certain features to certain shops above a certain threshold. And actually, I have a reel that's going out tomorrow that I made, but it's a green screen of me talking about my subscribe and save. I have 20 to 25 customers within the first 60 days already signed up for subscribe and save, and I didn't get it until this month. So I've been getting 0.8 per day essentially, which is insane because by the, maybe I might have 200 or 300 signed up at the end of the year. Who knows? And that's LTV, it's great.
Yep.
But I am going to invest in Shop creators too, because I have seen some crazy performances on Shop, because you can tag the product and still also say I bought this on Amazon, but I left a link below. It's also on TikTok Shop, and you can make it sound non-salesy. So we're going to try a little bit of both types of creators this time, but creators do get expensive if they're really good. So that's just part of the game,
Yeah, and one of the reasons I was asking about that, I was DMing with someone yesterday, and he was talking about how obviously creators want the retainer because they're getting paid up front, but one thing just from doing the math with one of the brands that he's running, because he's running up a brand on TikTok Shop, is he thinks it makes more sense not only for the brand but also for the creator if they are getting a good affiliate commission on the sale, whatever that is for the particular product, 20%, 30%, and then instead of paying them a retainer, obviously they need to be making good content, but just run Spark ads to their video, which is just running ads behind the creator's post. But then since they are getting the commission on the sale, now more people are buying using their link, and then it's just running up the commission that way.
Yeah, so I actually spoke to someone from Rob's Top Shelf brand, one of his top creators. I spoke to him yesterday, and I gave him a little sneak peek of a product that I'm actually coming out with, which I do have next to me, but I don't want my manufacturer's name to be on it. But it's like a powdered supplement, and then
Nice.
obviously I have my other one right here. But
Yep.
I spoke to him, and this is funny you brought that up because he said I was asking him, I'm like, do you charge a retainer? Like, here's a sneak peek of my other product. Let me know if you think you or females can kind of make content around this. And he's like, dude, this is going to be way better than the gummy supplement. You should definitely do this on Shop. And I'm like, yeah, but some creators charge like $1,000 retainer plus commissions. Some want bonuses. And he's like, dude, I'm like one of Rob's top creators, and I don't charge a retainer because I make good content and I get good commissions. So I'm incentivized by my performance. And he also said when they run Spark ads, they get that same exact commission structure, but they get like an extra, I think it's like 3 or 4% on top of that. So they're
Oh,
making
really?
more. Yeah. And
Because of
they
the
already
Spark
know it
ads?
does well. Yeah. Spark ad adds a
Oh,
couple
interesting.
percent commission to the creator.
No shot. Did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, which is super
Learn something
cool
new.
because like they're
Yeah.
incentivized to do it. They give you their like
Yeah.
shop code basically, or their Spark ad code basically, and they're incentivized to make good content because if they can make good content and not just like some people will just get it like a 1K retainer and they'll be like but like if you make good content they'll run ads on it. Why you should be incentivized to do that. So we are going to do that. I think that's really cool that he doesn't even take a retainer. He's like, I've had people offer me like a 3K retainer and I'm like, no, because like sometimes the products just aren't good and I can't make content on it. But like Rob's colognes and Rob's like supplements, he's just really good with. And the content goes viral and then he gets what, 20, 30. I think Rob does like 35% because his margins are better. And he's
Yeah, his margins are
incentivized
crazy.
by that large commission structure and bonuses on top of that. Because these brands will have like, oh, if you do 50K revenue for us within a month, we'll give you an extra $1,000. So essentially that's his like retainer basically because he knows he'll hit those bonuses.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Man, I have so many more
Yeah,
questions
you're
for you.
good.
Well,
I
like I
could go
said
for days
before,
on this.
I could go for days as well. I have another meeting that I got to jump in, but I'll let you and Josh
Yeah, for
keep
sure.
jamming for a second. And hopefully if I leave, this doesn't stop the recording.
We're good.
Oh, that would be a disaster. All right, well, we'll wait until you leave.
No, we're good.
All right, yeah,
We're
we're good.
good.
We're good.
Perfect.
I love it. So let's talk about like just, someone is still kind of getting first into private label, and what are like 3 things that you're like, you have to do this or else it's probably not going to be very good for you. Like, what are like those 3 things?
Have a decent budget. Everyone says like, oh, you can launch. I mean, realistically, you could launch with like 10 grand, but you're not going to have money for the marketing, which is like the
Yes.
creators.
Yes.
So, and the PPC. If you find a category with super cheap PPC and you want to do the content yourself, yes, it's feasible. But I'm not going to be the guy that preaches like, oh, you can launch a brand with 10K. I'm probably like 30 grand into this project. So, and I'm still spending thousands on creators. So I like being transparent with the community. It's like
Yeah,
my
that's
first order, you could probably do like a 1 or 2,000 MOQ with some manufacturers. I think you can go as low as like 1 to like 1,500. Which if you're doing a supplement, it's like $6 to $8 a unit, probably like closer to 6 if it's not custom. But you want to be unique sometimes, which is what I'm doing with mine. So it cost me actually like $675 for this one, but I'm ordering 3,500 units, so it's different. So
Okay.
that
Yeah.
order is pretty expensive. You usually do like 50% upfront, 50 after when it ships out. But for example, on my first one, it probably cost me like 16,000 for the order, branding, trademarks, little small shit that just happens. A Shopify website costs money. Helium 10 costs money. Those are pretty much you're going to need probably like Sellerboard or something like that to also QuickBooks to also like track that. So there is a few pieces of software. I wouldn't say there's a lot. You could probably get away with just using like QuickBooks and Helium 10 to start. But there's a lot of upfront costs. Like it costs like $500 to trademark something. You have to file it. You have to pay someone to do the paperwork if you don't know how to do it, which is usually what I recommend because if you file it the wrong way, you can get denied. And I've been denied twice on trademarks, and it's brutal because then you have to pay people to dispute it. You got to talk to attorneys. It's very annoying, and attorneys cost a lot. So money up front, and I think just time and patience is like, the biggest things that people that want to that are listening that want to do private label. It's like, if you rush your product idea, it's going to come out like shit, or it's just not going to maybe sell as well. Now, if you've been thinking about a certain thing and the data validates it on Helium or Google Trends or exploding topics, like those are what everybody uses basically to validate it. If the competition is low and the search volume is high, you're going to have a high IQ score on Helium, which is basically it's just search volume divided by competition. If you have a lot of search volume and an average amount of competition, your IQ score is going to be high, and that usually signifies that the idea is kind of validated. It's good, but you never know if the search volume could be high because of a trend. So you have to do some research, and that's where you go on Google and do a lot of that stuff. But and that's why I say patience, because you might want to wait a week or two and go back and validate that idea again. Because if there was a viral TikTok video that you might have not seen that caused that search volume to spike, and it's down 50%, that IQ score is now lower because the search volume is down. And you want to have a product that has enough keywords to kind of run on and rank that you can rank for, because if the product's a very boring product and there's only like 5 to 10 relatable keywords, and there's not enough like long tail keywords. For example, it's like magnesium supplement would be your number one keyword if you want to run like magnesium gummies, but then you could do long tail keywords is what they call, which is like magnesium gummies for women or magnesium gummies for kids. Like if you can rank on all of those and you can have like a list of like 100 or 200 keywords, then you're in the clear.
Gotcha.
But to go back on your question, like I said, like a decent enough budget, a backup budget. Don't rely on zero APR cards, because if it doesn't sell, you're screwed. I mean, at least you have 12 to 18 months, depending on the card you have. I think it is good, but just make sure you do have backup funding in case it doesn't sell, or in case you just gotta pay creators to get it going. This isn't like a get rich quick scheme. You're not going to be making 10K a month like your first month. Like you're going to be paying creators, you're going to be paying PPC, and like, I might make $0 6 months in, but like I said, like if you can get like 10,000 customers and get maybe a 10% of them to repurchase it, that next month you have 1,000 customers buying it with not as much creator spend, then you're in the clear.
Yeah, that's huge. I think the really thing I like that you were talking about is like patience. Like with me and Cajua. So you were in like more health and science. I was like a biologist. So our first private label was like a bat house. So a place where bats can go and like home.
Nice.
And so all the designs had like holes on the side, but bats like hate sunlight. So I was like, oh, like that's an easy fix. Let's just slap 2 pieces of wool on the side and we should be good. And getting the design to like the manufacturers in China and having them ship us out a sample, and it's like the sample didn't come out right the first time, and you're like, oh my gosh, I waited 2 months to get this sample. Now I got to wait another 2 months to get another sample. It's like that time and like perseverance, like, and again, that kind of like I think that helped us out a lot, because like that's what kind of differentiated us from like the rest of everybody else, which was kind of cool. So even though that product label or private label did okay for us, I wouldn't say it kind of smashed any barriers or created a whole bunch of wealth for us, but it was more proof of concept and staying patient and having that patience. Exactly. Perfect.
And like, no, that's like a really good story behind that. And the going back on like the patience stuff, like you could do it. Let's say a supplement. Everybody wants to do a supplement nowadays. Rob obviously is a big, nutritionist type. If you go back far enough on his YouTube, you'll see why he does those types of things. He has a good background in the health field. But you had a product that requires a lot of time for sampling. If you're doing a supplement and maybe you're getting just a white labeled stock formula that they just have ready, you could get a sample the next day. But if you want to do a custom, like what I did, it took like 3 weeks, because they actually had to source an ingredient from another manufacturer, because I wanted it to be a little different than the competition.
Gotcha.
But going back on another thing, like just like a small tip for people that want to start, try to think of everything in the eyes of a consumer. Do not think about your product in the eyes of a brand builder, because you're going to think, we've had people in the group and people that have hit me up that are like, yo, this is a great idea. Look how cool this looks. I'm like, yeah, to you, it looks like shit to everybody else, in my personal opinion. So it's like, you kind of got to be a little real with some people sometimes, because it might sound like shit, like the way I describe it like that, but it's true. Like if you design a product that's for you, you might be a small select amount of people that want it. You want to brand it for the average person. So like for me, I'm going straight females. I'm making it look pretty. I'm making it look nice. It has some metallicness to it with the gold side. I ordered new labels today. The labels are actually going to be more expensive because we're doing a textured feel to it. So
Okay,
now
cool.
when you pick up the bottle every single day, there's that little like feel to it, kind of like Ghost has those cans. The Swedish Fish
Yeah.
Ghost Edition has the scales, which I freaking love.
Yeah, they were
Um,
really cool.
so it's like when I'm telling people to look at like brand building, and I'm no professional, so you don't even need to listen to me when I say this, but the customers care about a few things when they're looking to buy a product: the price, the way it looks, and that's probably the two most important things, and maybe the benefits. But the thing is, they're not looking on Amazon and searching through your supplement facts panel. They're going to look to see if the product benefits them. So it's like, your image, and then maybe your second or third image on Amazon has to really hit home. You got to hit those pain points. So if you go look at my listing, it says like, I got my old me back, which is kind of like, oh, like I'm de-stressed, I'm fine, I'm back to normal. So it does kind of hit those insecurities. And I hate using the word insecurities, but it's so true. Like,
Oh, sure.
you want to be de-stressed, you want to be stress-free, and that's kind of the way I brand it. But the third and fourth thing that customers really may not care about, well, the product benefits is probably like right up there, but like the efficacy needs to be up there, because I feel like most supplements are like placebo effect. So you have to really make them believe it for them to actually think it's working. So you got to make it look good. You don't want to be too cheap either, because if your products like
Yes.
undercut the
Yes.
market, they're going to be like, this is too cheap. And then they might actually have the mental like effect, like, oh, maybe it doesn't work because it's so cheap. So I just
Right.
entered at market like exact $29.99, just like everybody else. And if you brand it like a good looking product and make it not look cheap, and you price it at a good threshold, people are going to love it, in my personal opinion. If you come in and you get a stock formula and it's like $4 for a unit, and you come in and list it at 20 and your competition's at 30, it's going to look cheap,
Yeah.
in theory. And some customers don't like that. Some customers are actually looking at price, maybe because they want to save money. But if you're a huge, maybe $27.99 might be a better price, and your margins are higher, which means you can give more to creators. So that's how I kind of look at it. I try to always take a step back and say, like, what would I buy on Amazon, and why
Mm.
would I buy this over that? Like, what am I
Yeah.
looking at? And it's usually like price points, reviews play a big role, and just the way it looks. I mean, I like buying stuff that looks cool. I mean, I buy Ghost energy drinks. I know Ghost has good, product benefits, but I buy the brand. I don't buy the product. And I
Right.
feel like a lot of people do the same thing. It's like, oh, it looks cool, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just some piece of advice. Like and like I said, I'm no professional, but that's just how I see it when I take a step back and look at it.
Yeah, and that's huge. I think again the way the product looks and the price are
Mhm.
just two just huge aspects that I'll see a lot of people miss on like the actual like label side. Like
The compliance too.
getting that
Yeah.
getting that textured label. Like when someone opens the box, it's like when I'm always excited to get a new iPhone, even though I get one like every like 5 years, just because I'm excited to
It's
open
like a
it. Like
ASMR feel to it.
like yeah, like I already know what I'm getting. Like I'm getting a new iPhone. I'm just excited to open it. And
Yeah.
so allowing that, giving that experience to customers is so big. And in terms of like, I think the biggest thing, especially when me and Kaj were doing private label,
Mhm.
were like how you launch the product, when the product checks in, and how you launch it. Whether it was like price you were launching at, how hard you ran ads, looking for like creators for reviews. What were some strategies that you used to help kind of get that boost in the beginning, to allow you to rank really well for a lot of your keywords?
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of Helium 10, and I'll do a shameless plug that you can use our code. It should still work. It's like Tona 20 or Tona 10.
Okay,
It
cool.
might actually be MDBC now 20, because I know Rob has a code for Million Dollar
Okay,
Brand Club.
nice.
But if people want to go and use it, they can use it. It's 20% off
Yeah.
like 6 months, or 10% off forever, which is usually the best code to go with, because you are going to need it forever.
Yes.
But I did a lot of research, not so much on the creators, because you can always delegate that. You could join some other groups. I'm in the process of building a group to train our own in-house brands. We'll train our own in-house creators for our brands. For my brand, for a couple of the other guys I'm running it with, where we each have our own brand. So it's like, hey, let's make a really, really good course that exists, make it super cheap so we can pull in creators. Like some of these courses are like $3,000 and they're like telling you how to make a green screen video, and just all you're doing is really just copying other creators and doing like, they call it like the 80-20 rule, which is like copy 80%, add 20% flair. And you could use like Fastmoss or Calidata, which are two tools that creators use. They basically shows them the top creators in the space based on categories. And what we just tell them is go look at what's going viral and emulate it. Make your own version of it. Because if it's already performing, you know it's going to work. You just need to add your own flair, some energy to it. And that's basically what we're doing in-house, and we're going to have those creators learn and then push them on our own brands. But I got sidetracked. Your original question was, correct me if what was the original question? It was
Oh God, honestly, I don't even know if I remember. I remember it was a good
it
one.
was
Oh yeah, launch.
launch
It was all about
So
launch. Yeah, launch strategy.
going back on the helium tending, it's the creators aren't as crazy needed because you can kind of learn that as you go. That's what we're doing, and that's what made me go off on that tangent. But learning helium 10 is super important. I put out a couple YouTube videos on it if people want to look at it. I'll probably put out some more in the future. I really love the tool. Basically, what you could do with that tool is plug in competitor ASINs, and it's going to give you all the keywords they rank on. And you can basically make these keyword folders and delete the branded keywords and keep the non-branded keywords. So it's like magnesium gummies or magnesium gummies for women. Those are words you want to throw in your listings, throw in your bullet points, throw in your title. And then the ones that are branded, you want to keep a separate folder for branded and unbranded. And you want as many in there as possible because that's what's going to go to your PPC campaigns. The only thing you can't do is put competitor brand names in your listing, in your back-end keywords. But for PPC, it's fair game because you can try to outbid them.
Yeah.
Personally, you'll probably have a really low ROAS if you're trying to win like something against a competitor like Lemmy Gummies, which is like Kardashian brand. Like I'm not going to bother with that because their clientele is going to buy their product. So like, am I going to convert them? Probably not, because they do have a nice product. Sure. So researching keywords beforehand is really, really crucial. Understanding PPC costs obviously is another thing, and you could do that same exact thing with Helium. They have a whole column for that. So you do want to like factor that. I'm not currently running some keywords with magnesium gummies in it because it's like $4 a click. I'm going for more of the crazy, like the mid to lower tier keywords that still converts but just cost a lot less. And as I build up, I'm going to add those more expensive keywords in once I start to get a lot more profitable. But launch strategies, that's good. Reviews wise was the other thing you mentioned. So I did the Vine program, which a lot of people have bad experiences with.
Okay.
But here's my advice on the Vine program. Vine program for those that are listening that don't know, is basically Amazon customers that review a lot of products get invited to this program called the Vine program, which basically gives them this dashboard that they can basically get free products from new brands, and they just need to leave a honest review, like an unbiased review. Sometimes they get removed if they are like not so much about the product, and it, like I had one got removed. It was them complaining that it came damaged, and I'm like, that's not my fault. Like Amazon put it in a poly bag, and I'm like,
what? And
they removed it basically. So you could pay for the Vine program. Your first ASIN, you actually get $200 worth. So it costs $200. So for your first ASIN, it's basically free. Nice. Now, my advice on the Vine program though is, if you have a product that looks good and it tastes good, and you think it's efficacious or it works, that's a great product for Vine. If your product is like branded iffy or is more of a placebo effect type thing, like a capsule where they can't taste it, it might be more of a judgmental type review where they're like, I took my capsules for a week, like, I don't really feel a difference, 1 star. And that 1 star hurts. Now mine is different. I have a very sugary sweet gummy, so most of the time it gets that like dopamine, and they're like, oh, this tastes so good, I'm in a better mood now because it's like candy. So I actually had all 5 stars and maybe like 3-4 stars. I might have had 1 3-star. I could lie, I might be lying. I think I might have had 1 3-star, but overall I have like a 4.8 or 4.7 right now, which is insanely good considering I did the maximum amount of Vine reviews, which is the $200 goes to 30 products. So you give out 30 for free. I got about 26 reviews out of it. So 4 of them either, I think they don't force you to review it, but I think they want Vine people to review it thoroughly. And the good thing is you're getting unbiased, full detailed reviews, like really good reviews that are really long. And if you go look at my listing, you'll see why. And those really help. And like other people will click like, oh, this helped me, and it boosts it up to the top. And going back, like if you have a product that might be more of a placebo effect, like it works scientifically, but you might not feel it. It's probably not a good idea for Vine. Or if you have a product that needs to be built, it might not be good, because if people are just stupid and don't know how to build it the right way, they just leave. They're ruthless.
Gotcha.
And I've seen some people that did Vine and it ruins their entire launch, and they have to restart. And that's kind of how I bootstrapped it. Obviously, I posted on social media, so I got a lot of reviews from like loyal people, which is why, you see a high amount of reviews. Some people are saying on my YouTube videos, I'm paying for them. I'm not paying for any reviews besides the Vine program. And you get those haters, but it happens. Like I have honestly, a social following. I have a lot of friends. I'm posting on multiple pages and multiple groups. And I think that's the best strategy. And this is what building in public's good for. Like people are going to be like, yo, I love this journey. I just bought it. Like I had so many people on Instagram buy it just because they follow me.
That's really cool. Yeah. And even like then, like a lot of creators like and brands, like they'll pay for reviews, but it's like, you can only pay for reviews for so long. Like soon you're going to be selling, like again, you're going to be selling 1,000 a month soon. And then it's like, if your product's still crappy, like you're going to get a whole bunch of bad reviews coming in. It doesn't matter how much you pay for, quote unquote good reviews at the end of the day. I mean, that's how everybody did it back in the day.
I think they're still doing it. All these Chinese brands still pay for reviews.
They have to. It's like, there's no way this is a good product.
Especially if you're teetering on the edge of like a 4.0 and a 3.9. I've seen some articles on like the actual stats from Amazon. Like if it goes from 4.0 to like 3.9, your sales drop like 20%.
That's crazy.
Because that 3 looks like shit compared to, because it's out of a 5, 4. But to have a 5 is impossible. But to have a 4.8, like I have a 4.7 2 months in, that's really good.
Yeah.
So it does play a role in it. And there's agencies that have these like buying reviews things, and they probably have multiple IP addresses, multiple aged accounts, and they're purchasing on it. But I do not want to run into trouble with Amazon. That is the last thing I want to do, because if they shut an account down, they shut both of my accounts down, because I have a wholesale account and a PL account. And if that goes down, I have no source of income. I have, everything's ruined. All my inventory's halted. And then you're paying not only storage fees, you're paying removal fees if you have to remove all of it and pivot. And that's the last thing I want to do, is mess around with Amazon.
Dude, absolutely. All right, now where can people go find you on YouTube if they want to look up a video on private label and all that good stuff? Yeah,
so my socials is just Tona FBA. It's never going to change. I've been a little bit more active on Instagram. I do tweet out a lot of like software advice and a lot of just like random things, a lot of promotions for my own communities. So bear with me on those tweets, but I do occasionally post a lot of info on like Helium 10, what tools to use, how I can use it. And then on YouTube, I just have a lot of tutorials. Like I hate making like long-term content or whatever it's called. Because it just sucks. Like I do have that warehouse vlog, which is nice. My buddy runs the warehouse for me. And that was really cool, but it takes a lot to do that type of content editing. So I'd rather just post tutorials on just things that can help people understand tools more, because not everybody is like really good with software, and they might like, I'm learning more and more about Helium 10 by the day, like all these other sub tools. They have like 20 tools within the tool itself, like listing builders, AI listing builders, all these other things. They have profit and loss, dashboards and stuff. They even have some Walmart tools on there, which is nice. But I'd probably say, Instagram is where I'm most active in terms of like reels. But if you want to learn more, I would probably watch some of the tutorials on YouTube as well.
Awesome. Guys, links will be in the description. If you found value from this episode, give it a like and subscribe to Ecom Unlimited so you can stay updated on all of our new content, and we will see you on the next one.